Good, hello. Thanks for watching another Sunday case study. When people think of palmistry, the general consensus is that of fortune telling, divination. There's very little thought given to character analysis, personality, health traits, psychological patterns, the past and the present. But really, in palmistry, that's how we get an idea to see the future, to forecast possible future events. We really need to get a good understanding of everything that's occurred before. Now, in this Sunday's reading, I'm going to be looking at Akshay Kumar's hands and his true nature. What are his hands hiding? What are his hands going to reveal? And how can this determine what's in store for this person? So watch to the end to find out my predictions on. Now, something I want to point out here, look at his hands. This is an image of Akshay when he was a little bit younger. This is an older image. Now take a good look at this palm right here. Just soak it in. Now what do you see? And compare that with this. I just want you to, whoops, just have a good think about how the difference is there. Now, this is the older image, and this is Akshay's hands over time. And what's happening here? Now, you guessed it, it's the little finger. It's the Mercury finger. So I'm going to be paying particular attention to this finger and what it means. First of all, I'm going to be looking at the chirognomy, and that is the shape of the hands and the fingers, and what this tells us. So the Mercury finger really comes into that aspect of palm reading because the shape and the finger leanings, the shape of the fingers and the finger leanings themselves tell us so much about the psychology of a person, what a person is thinking, where they're leaning in certain aspects of their mind and their makeup. The Mercury finger encompasses all things communicative and expressive. Communication and expression go hand in hand. When we communicate, we do so with only 7% our voices, verbally at least. There's so much more to how we communicate with our body language, with our eyes, with our inflections, with our tone of voice, the rhythm, where we pause, when we dance, athleticism, sex, how we write, when we create things artistically. And so all of these things really encompass what it means to express and communicate. Now, when the Mercury finger becomes stunted, reduced over time, what does that tell us? I was looking at Kevin Spacey's hands quite recently, and all the pictures, his hands appear somewhat like Akshay, very well aligned, well developed, long, in fact. However, over time, I've noticed, especially in more recent images, his little finger becomes reduced. It almost shrinks. It appears to shrink. And actually, what's happening is it's becoming lower set on the palm. What does that mean? Well, it's showing us a person's inability to articulate emotionally. They're repressing. And they're either doing that out of a reaction to how they're feeling, something that's embedded in the past that they're not unlocking. There's this healing that needs to be done. So they're either doing it unconsciously or consciously. Either way, it's likely due to some sort of previous trauma. It's an inability to emotionally articulate repression. What does it mean when a Mercury finger is twisted, crooked, bent? Often it means a person's sexual, psychological framework is also crooked, twisted, or bent. It's not the be all and end all. I want to reiterate here, as I do so many times, that one sign in the palm alone is not enough to really conclude. However, there are a couple of other signs here that do point towards a development of a crooked sexual psychological makeup. And that is the Jupiter finger and how it is kind of on the short side. I mean, what we want to see ideally is a Jupiter finger that reaches past the first halfway mark of the first phalanx of Saturn. It just about reaches underneath, it's level with half. It's not quite long enough, it's not short, I mean, it's about short. Also, we see a widened basal phalanx of Jupiter, and that shows us the need to physically satiate and dominate, control physically. Sex, drugs, chocolate, alcohol, womanizing. That's what this shows us here. There's an inferiority complex compensated for by the need to physically satiate and control. That combined with this ever corrupting sexual psychology, as well as, and this I find particularly fascinating, notice in the oldest image I have here of Akshay's hands, the headline and the lifeline are joined as one. A caution here. There is restraint. However, when we look over time, notice that the headline and the lifeline begins to come detached ever so slightly until it almost detaches itself completely, becoming that the bridge is weakening between the two. So there's an increase in impatience, rashness, risk taking, and enjoying taking those risks. Now, with those things combined, that's a fairly unsettling sign. So I feel what we have here is a development of the psychological makeup and where this person is heading. And it's not a particularly good sign. So before I move on into the future potential, I want to talk a bit more about the person's personality and what the palm is showing us. And really, I see a fire hand, certainly strongly, highly motivated person. The base of this person's hand appears wider at the bottom, and then they age, and the way they think and feel about work changes. You can see that Upper Mars becomes more developed over time, and Luna becomes less developed. This person cares less for imagination and cares more for the future, cares more about material and less about the creative, which is a bit of a shame when we're considering a creative and someone who inspires through creative work. Initially, this was someone who set out to pioneer and read the rule books and reinvent, do things differently. And that was represented by how the hand was so much wider at the bottom. And as time has gone on, this person has really risen to a certain level and decided, actually, this is more important, material's more important. The strong angle of the thumb has never changed, and that shows us a great sense of rhythm. It also shows this person is remarkably good with their hands. And I think what we also see here is an angle of pitch. This person, I believe, has also a singing voice. They are highly physical. Venus is well pronounced, and as I've already mentioned, this is a person who enjoys all of the pleasures of life, but also Neptune is very well developed as well. So their ability to captivate and hold an audience is really strong. Luna is also on the strong side, but not as strong as it used to be. Their idea of who they are in the outside world and how the outside world perceives them is also very strong. Their public image means a lot to them. And this is why Apollo is so much longer than Jupiter. You can't quite see it in other images, but in this one you can just about. Unfortunately, it's sort of cropped at the top, but we can see that it's clearly longer than Jupiter, and this shows that need for reputation and glory. The rounded essence of the fingers here really shows us someone who is living in the moment, someone who's quite sensual. This is quite a sensual man, someone who is very enthusiastic, motivated, quick to act. There's no doubt. There's no doubt this person is very intelligent. They are highly ambitious, and I say that because of the lifeline, and that it almost appears to rise, stems from Jupiter itself. In fact, what we see here is an ambition line that rises from the life and the headline where this person claims their independence. I would say that's probably about the age 22 that occurred for this person. Now, the reason why I decided to read Akshay Kumar's hands is because someone wrote a comment recommending that I read this person's hand with regards to their fate line and how their fate line appears to stop at their headline. How is this person so successful if after 35 the headline disappears? Well, we can see in this oldest image here, the fate line is very strong after 35. In fact, it appears stronger after 35 than anywhere else. However, in recent times, this appears to change, which is an excellent sign. And I think this really goes to show here how this person feels about their path in life, their journey. The fate line does equate to success in some regards because it's our path and that's our career for a lot of us, or at least it's intertwined. It's where we place and focus our energy in life. So how could that not be our career? How could that not have some bearing on our success? But it also has a greater relation to our journey and our path, our destiny, and how we feel about that. So if we are highly successful and actually what we're doing is not what we enjoy, then our fate line will begin to fade. So I believe that Akshay is beginning to not enjoy his work so much anymore. And I also believe he is becoming more and more reclusive over time. And that is because the Mercury finger is becoming wider and wider. The gap between Mercury and Apollo is becoming wider and wider. This person desires isolation, privacy, and won't be confined by laws and bureaucracy. More and more, this person is feeling that they are kind of a law unto themselves, and that's in line with this disconnect between the mind line, if you like, the headline, and the life line. They are becoming more and more non-conformist over time, and that's because they're becoming more and more powerful. With great power comes responsibility, and my feeling is that this person has chosen to, in some way, abuse that power, and that abuse and getting away with abusing that power has potentially changed their psychological makeup and how they view the world. There are two themes with Akshay Kumar's life, and that is of the Hierophant and of the Hermit. And the reasons why I say that are simply that Akshay Kumar's life, his date of birth is the 9th of the 9th, 1967. So we have two nines. Now, when you add all the numbers of 1967 together, you get a 5. And when you add every number of his birthday together, you also get a 5. So 9 appears twice, 5 appears twice. Number 5 is the Hierophant in the tarot. And this is a really spiritual sign. The Hierophant is remarkably spiritual. It's a very powerful number, very magical number. And there's two ways that this really is represented. I think that this really reveals itself. Now, the Hierophant, you can see here, this is clearly a spiritual and religious figure. Everybody is looking up to this person. This is either dramatically powerful internally or externally. And I think the focus here, the main focus is it's easy to get lost in the interpretation. It's not just all spiritual. Look at what this person is wearing. Everyone's looking up at this person. All eyes are on this person. Everyone's looking up to this person. This person is high and mighty, powerful. They are wearing gold headdress. They are better dressed than everyone else. This is fame. So, as I say, there are two meanings to the Hierophant. It's either internal or external. This is fame for this person. Now, Akshay could have really ignored all the external and material and focused on within and focused on that spiritual path at the same time as being successful. And I suppose it's easier said than done. And in a way, I feel like the theme of this person's life is that power corrupts, but we always have a chance to redeem ourselves. The second theme of this person's life is the Hermit. It's the 9th card in the tarot. And this is all about development within. It's all about isolation. Now, what I find interesting here is the second theme to this person's life is that they are searching within, that all eyes were once upon a time upon them, and now this person, the only eyes on that person are their own. They're looking for growth within. The answers to their issues are within, and I think this person will finally look to isolate themselves and really work on themselves and remove themselves from the public eye at a certain age. Now, I've come to these conclusions that at 35, this is a karmic year for this person because of the fate line and just how powerful it begins from the headline at this age. And we see that from the earlier image just here. And I believe that's where this card really sort of kicked in. Now, this is interesting. Karmic years generally happen in multiples of 7 in our lives. 7 times 5, 5 being the Hierophant, is 35. 7 times 9 is 63. Now, this is also interesting because when we look at this image right here, and it's perhaps the clearest image I've got, and I can appreciate still not very clear, is it? The fate line does continue onwards after that line, and where it stops is the girdle of Venus. The person's sexual urges and their desires come into contact with their career and creates a kind of obstacle. Now, I believe at this point, whatever happens for this person, whatever happens in their career, I believe they will isolate. They will retire. They will retreat and retract and look within. They will become hermit at the age of 63. 35 and 63 are particularly meaningful years for this person. Akshay is 57 right now. When he's 63, I believe it's possible there may well be some allegations made against him. Whatever happens there, whether that's true or not, I do believe with certainty that this person will essentially become that second theme of their life, the hermit, and really look for answers within and become highly spiritual. And my hope is that they will redeem themselves by giving back and making up for some of the potential here that I've seen in this hand for abusing that power. That I hope, by the way, I'm completely wrong about. And if that is the case, then after 63, this little finger may well increase in size, or give that appearance at least, and may well find alignment again. I find it fascinating, looking at a person's palms from many years ago and looking at what their palms look at now. I just find that development so fascinating. And sure, some of it's entirely physical, and the palms represent that change in that physical, but they also represent a change in the internal psychology as well. So please do let me know what your thoughts are on the palm reading. Some of my interpretations here, some of my opinions aren't very welcome. And I'm sorry if that's the case, but I'm only going to say what the hands tell me and what my predictions are based off of the circumstantial clues. And they all kind of point towards 35 and 63 karmic years. Please do let me know what your thoughts are on this palm reading. I'm curious to know. Now, if you'd like to learn with me on a fortnightly basis, you can. You can sign up for level 2 membership. It is $4.99 a month. And for that, you will get fortnightly assignments. The first one has just come out. You can read that on my blog. Anyone can access that, but to get the full benefit, membership only videos reveal the answers, my opinions and conclusions on those assignments. So you can interact with me and a growing community of emerging palmists as well. So please do sign up for that if you're interested. I hope you've enjoyed this video on the true nature, revealing the true nature of Akshay Kumar's plans and his future potential. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching and please subscribe.